Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Coach Leah's After the Whistle. Today we have a show packed full of fun information and great people for you to learn about today. So once again, we're so happy that you're here and let's go. We are so glad that you decided to join us today. Now listen, if you have an opportunity to share, please download this episode and watch it again at your leisure. Comment even after the show. Even if you're watching live, comment afterwards as well. Let us know what your thoughts are. We're nearing the very end of season 1, and so it's real important that you share your insights with us about how you feel about Coach Leah's After the Whistle. Before we get really into the show, of course, we want to start every show with some trending topics and a few shameless plugs. So the first I would like to talk about is back in the day at McRae. So, Southside represent. We have, this past weekend was a wonderful time in South Minneapolis at McRae Park. Shout out to the Minneapolis Parking Board. An annual neighborhood reunion of sorts was held last Saturday. And so you can find out more about the shenanigans that went out by checking out the Facebook page. And you definitely want to follow, and perhaps you want to join the group. So my love for coaching and my coaching career started at McRae Park at the age of 16. I was coaching the cutest little 8-year-olds and just teaching them little basketball skills. And I just really credit McRae for giving me that opportunity as a teen worker at the park and opening up a desire of mine or opening up a love of mine, knowing that I would desire to coach young people in the sport of basketball and perhaps the sport of life. So my next trending topic and shameless plug is, as always, I have to promote and talk about The Conversation with Al McFarland. And it's shown weekdays, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on our Insight News and our Black Press USA channels. Be sure to tune in both of those places. And again, those are places where you can go back and watch previous episodes. There are so many fascinating guests that appear with Al on his show, things that you've probably never even thought that you might have had an interest in, but once you get maybe 1 or 2 minutes into the segment, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much about something that's very important, and I didn't even know it was that important for my life. But again, check out The Conversation with Al McFarland, weekdays, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, are you ready for some football? The NFL season is in full swing. So what I decided to do was give you guys my perspective from the East Club this past Saturday. And that, as opposed to covering the game as a member of the media, getting credentials and working as media. So shout out to my girl, Kim Davis, for holding it down for us brown girls down there on press row. You do an amazing job, Kim. But I decided to give an up close and personal perspective from the East Club section of NRG. So now this is the second year as season ticket holders for me and my husband, Robert. We enjoy attending, but also activate our philanthropic muscle by donating select season tickets to charitable organizations during the year to help them to raise funds. That is something that's just really, really important to us. Being loyal to Houston, the Texans are Robert's favorite team, and before that were the Houston Oilers, as we know. The Texans have only been there, oh gosh, has it been even 15, 20 years? But yeah, since meeting Robert, I have amassed a formidable collection of Texans gear that I wear to the home games. But I am still a Minnesota Vikings die-hard fan. Skull! Now, it's a blast to listen to and watch the die-hard Texans fans and other seasoned season ticket holders. Of course, they're all experts, mind you. So there are 85 active roster players still on the team as of probably Saturday. Now, these next few weeks will be pivotal for the players that are on the fringe for the Texans squad. So that's pretty much the same all across the NFL. Teams must whittle down their rosters to 53 before the start of the regular season. So it's 48, and then they can hold 5 players on there, what they call the practice squad. So as an avid sports fan, it's important for you to know that preseason is not for the wins and losses. It's actually for the coaches and the players. So the Texans at halftime were down 21-3, and going into the second half, they decided to put their starting quarterback in, which was clearly a sign to see how the team would react in this game situation. Unfortunately, the final score was 28-3. Now, to hear what head coach DeMeco Ryans had to say about the final cut date, that's the date when they have to have their team down to the 53 players, 48, and then 5 on the practice squad. To hear more about that, go to the Houston Texans, HoustonTexans.com, and check out the press conference with DeMeco Ryans to learn more about what he had to say. He's a pretty insightful young coach, and I expect a lot of really great things to come from the Texans this year. So now let's get into our show. For today, the first person that I want to introduce you to is Brian Spann. Now, he's a man of diverse talents and boundless passion. He's a husband, father, and grandfather. He's also the visionary behind Spann Man Media. He hails from Franklinton, North Carolina, and his journey began at Franklinton High School and continued through North Carolina Central's University Fashion Program. And with a 30-year ministry legacy and a remarkable 26-year career at Duke University Health Systems, he's left an indelible mark from sports champion to artistic virtuoso. Now, Brian's lens captures both moments and beauty, showcased in global recognition and Netflix features. I'm also excited to talk about the fact that Brian has joined our Insight News sports team as a photographer. Yet, his heart remains devoted to community service, networking, and making the world a better place. Brian Spann, welcome to CoachLeah's After the Whistle.
Hi, Coach. How you doing today? It's good to be here with you.
We are so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much.
Glad to be
So
here.
now no problem. So now we've got a few things that we definitely want to talk about today. But my first question, actually, it's a comment. It's my belief that I am 1 degree of separation from pretty much everybody on the planet. Now, it's most obvious that your lovely and amazing and talented wife and my business partner, Sylvia Crowley Spann, is our 1 degree of separation. I think that's a pretty good one.
I don't think it can get any better than that. So.
I mean, actually, no. When she first told me about you, I was just so happy for Sylvia and for you. And I just knew that I was like, Well, Brian sounds like the perfect best friend for my husband, Robert, too. So, and it turned out, and I feel like I was right because as
Oh
soon as
yeah,
you guys had a chance to hang out, it was just like two peas in a pod. We
most
couldn't,
definitely.
y'all were just doing y'all's thing and just enjoying each other. And just the conversation was just so robust and so meaningful with you guys. And, it's something to be said about men that are able to have really good friendships.
Yeah, I was so glad to meet Robert. And so I've gained another brother. So, I'm looking forward to connecting with both of you all again soon.
Good deal, good deal. So I want to just kind of jump right into your life as a scholar athlete. And I know
Mhm.
early in your scholar athlete career, you had a devastating loss of your grandmother. So talk to me a little bit about that, if you can, and how that has affected you in the way that you pursue life now.
Well, I was top ball player in high school. And so I kind of let it go just for a little while until one day I was at North Carolina Central playing basketball, doing my normal thing. The coach saw me playing. He was like, I want you on the team, no problem. So I got on the basketball team. And that next year, I actually won the Slam Dunk Championship. And right after I won, I called home to celebrate. And then they told me that my grandmother was in the hospital with cancer. And so, mind you, I've already lost my mom at age 3. And so my grandmother was kind of like that rock and that foundation in my life. And she did survive for a while, but it did take a turn on me because she was a mortician and I had to leave home. Leave school. And I went back home to be with her until she got better. And then as things got better, and then my uncle, who is now the owner of the funeral home, Mr. Joe Cutchins, when he was able to get settled there, then I was able to just move back to Durham. And so it took its toll. It was something that I wanted to do, playing basketball, but family comes first. And so,
Indeed. So do you think that was your after the pivot moment? After the whistle
yeah.
pivot, do you feel like that was it for you?
It really was. I immediately, I started working at Duke. I was roughly about 21, 22 years old, and I started working there, and I had a wonderful career during that time. But while I was there, I tried to go back and see if I could pursue again. So I became a free agent, and I started going to free agent camps. And then 9/11 happened, and that kind of spooked me out of it a little bit. So I stuck to my career in medicine.
Oh, wow. Okay, so medicine.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute. What are we missing here? So now, how did you find your artsy journey? What happened? With the photography? Spann Man Media. Did photography find you, or did you find photography?
You, you know,
What's up?
I'm still trying to figure that out. Okay, so the way it worked was when I was a little kid, my uncle, the one I just mentioned earlier that ran the funeral home, as a little kid, 5, 6 years old, we would ride in the car, and he would just see something and pull over, go over there and go over there and pose. It could be a creek. Take shoes off, go out there and pose in the creek. I'm like, man, there's snakes in that creek. Boy, ain't no snakes in that creek.
No.
Get on over there and roll them pant legs up, looking like Tom Sawyer. So, and it became a habit. We could travel anywhere. I don't care where it is. And so I got used to the camera. So then I ended up being the president of the FHA, Future Homemakers of America, my senior year in high school.
Okay.
And I couldn't fit clothes back then. A suit for a man 6'5" at my height, even though I was kind of skinny, it was $400 and $500 just to find a decent suit. So I
Oh,
said, I
absolutely.
want to learn how to make clothes. So it kind of started there. And then I
Okay.
started taking pictures at North Carolina Central. I would find photographers, wear a nice suit, pose in front of the camera. And then after basketball, when I started working at Duke, I just got this desire to want to model. So started modeling. I was around age 30, and that's the same year I started working with becoming a free agent. And the modeling part is the thing that prevailed. And so
Okay.
from there, started doing freelance. After that, started runway. And it just took over for about maybe 18 years until finally
Nice.
I looked at myself in the mirror one day and said, I don't think the camera wants to look at me anymore. I think it's time for me to learn how to look through the eye of the camera.
Wow.
So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so that's what gave me the taste for it. But um, my wife is the one that really pushed me into it with both feet so I could stop talking about it.
Indeed, indeed. It's it's one of those things. And I talk about it all the time. That's life makes us do what we have to do
Yeah.
until we can do what we want to do.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is that this younger generation isn't really trying to hear that. They're trying to do what they want to do and make a career out of it, no matter what. So, and I think that us elders, we are kind of providing that the availability of certain opportunities,
Yes.
because we know that that's where they're going to thrive anyway. And so, why have them work in jobs that they just cannot stand, and come to work just unhappy every day and barely doing the job. So, I think that it is important that we kind of maybe try to help them to find their way in where they're passionate. But we definitely cannot say that we could afford to do that when we were coming up.
No, not at all.
So the quickest we can find where we can make money doing what we love doing, that is always the goal, right?
Yes, ma'am. I totally agree with that, especially when you can do it and you love what you do. So,
Yes, absolutely. So speaking about that, I was so excited to learn about one of your recent assignments where you performed a virtual tour at a place that was a cave. And it afforded you the opportunity to land on Netflix? What? Tell me about that.
so actually, the way it happened, this place was on Netflix. It was during their series, The World's Most Amazing Vacation Rentals. So I was like literally praying. We did like a 5 o'clock morning prayer at our church Monday through Friday online. And so, I stayed faithful to that. And one day I was like, Lord, I need something that's really going to just make my stuff pop off. That'll, I respect all photographers, but you have that competitive mind, something that would just set your stuff apart from everyone else. So after the 5 o'clock prayer, which ends after 1 hour, about an hour later, I'm on Facebook and I see this cave. And I'm a big Batman fan. Let me just tell you that right now. You talk about a cave, I'm thinking I'm Bruce Wayne. And I see this place and I'm like, this has got to be a Facebook scam. And I could just hear this small, still voice say, you better do your research. And so I always said that had to have been God. So I did my research, went on Google and YouTube and found that this place was real. It was called Beckham Creek Cave in Parthenon, Arkansas. So after going on their website, I found a phone number thinking it's a desk number. Lo and behold, it was the general manager's number. Her name is Rain Davidson. And she
Nice.
responded back. I stated, I'm a photographer from North Carolina, would like to know if you'd like to have updated photos. And she was like, well, we already have those things. And then I was like, oh man, I had that womp, womp, womp feeling, And
Right.
I could hear that voice coming back again saying, you have not because you asked not. So I went back in and I sent a text and said, what about a virtual tour? All of a sudden, the response was, we've always been looking for that, but we can't find one. I said, I'm your man. So I sent her to my website and we talked for about 2 or 3 days. And then she was like, look, this is something we would love to have done. And we would love to get you and your wife to come up to Parthenon and we'll give you 3 nights. We will barter with that. Because I didn't have a problem bartering because the place was $2,200 plus tax a night. So
There we go.
I was like, hey, I'll do it. I get the access to this place and I can tell people about it, but I'm also giving them a service. And so we took my virtual tour camera there. And in one day, I was able to complete it, 5,800 square feet of a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom property sitting on
Wow.
256 acres of land. And they thanked me for it. They even made me their promotional ambassador. And I'm in good contacts and a wonderful relationship with Miss Davidson and everyone there.
Okay. Well, shout out to what's called Beckham. What's
Beckham
it
Creek
called?
Cave, yeah, Beckham Creek Cave Lodge, General Manager Rain Davidson in Parthenon, Arkansas.
Okay. So shout out to them. Now you have just your eye, and to see beauty and to see how to bring things to life that are even still is pretty remarkable. I know we have a couple other pictures that you've shared with us to show our viewers, and so I just wanted them to see some of your work right now, while also asking you what are your plans for sports photography for Insight News.
I'm planning to just get the best shots. Like some of what you're seeing right now, I like to get the action shots for Insight News, but also throw together some animated photography, some things that's a little out of the box that you can post on the websites that you can, win over the hearts of the young people as well as our generation, because I feel that, anything that we do, we have to always think about the generation after. And I would like for my work for Insight News to always look at who's coming behind us, because I feel like when we get old one day, somebody's got to carry it on.
That's true, and I will tell you, having a multi-generational view of things is something that I find so admirable about you, and another reason why I feel like we've become such great coworkers and partners and everything. And so, we're very excited for what you're going to bring to Insight News and with our sports and some other projects that I'm sure we're going to be working on in the past. So listen, we can talk all day, like all day, no problem. But I wanted to make sure that we can kind of get through our show today. But before we let you go, I want you to talk about your inspirational quote. I want you to read it, and then I want you to tell us why your inspirational quote is so important to you.
Well, one of mine is that you can't get ahead by leaving God behind. And this is something that I have coined from my apostle, Johnny Bennett, because he's always taught us in business, whether it be in church or anything that you do in life, you have to look at who gave you the gifts and talents that you have. And you can't forget who gave it to you, and then don't use it as a stage of influence to give him glory for it. And so for those that are religious or non-religious, that's just something I believe in, because I know that we all had to come from someone higher than ourselves. And we didn't gain the ability to think, receive wisdom, understand on our own. It had to have come from someone above ourselves. And I always want to make sure that I give homage and give respect back to the Lord for what he has done for me, because I realize that my ability didn't just come out of my own hands. It was given to me. And, like they said on Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
So that's your other quote about Spider-Man.
Yeah, my wife gets on me all the time. I'm going to tell you something. That Sylvie Crawley Spann, I make her watch cartoons. Forgive me.
Oh, you make her. Okay.
Yeah, I put spider webs on and I just sit right there. No,
It's terrible, terrible. Well, listen. Before you go, please tell everybody how they can get in touch with you with your Spann Man Media, and with some of the other things that you're doing in your ministry as well.
Sure. So you can reach my website at Spann Man Media, the number one.com. I'm also on Instagram as Spann Man Media. I'm on Facebook as Spann Man Media, but I'm also on LinkedIn as Brian C. Spann, which is Spann. You can also, I don't mind. My business phone is open to anyone, and that's 984-888-3634. And you can always catch my work on Insight News. You can also catch my work on Google and also on Alignable. So my work is out there, and soon, hopefully, to be on some other magazines as well as other stages.
Nice. Well, outstanding. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm so super excited again to have your work in Insight News. Go back there. I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, we featured Brian Spann in Insight News. So go ahead and take a look at that as well, so you can learn more about him in Insight News in print. So, well, Brian, thank you so much. I know you got some other things you got to do today other than hang out with us. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And we will see you very, very soon.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Leah. Coach Leah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Now, everybody, get ready to be inspired by the dynamic journey of Reverend Vascola Stoney. From Fort Pierce to Houston, she's marched to the beat of her own trumpet, earning degrees in mass communications and divinity. With a passion for preaching, teaching, and the arts, she's a force to be reckoned with on both the local and national stages. Presenting in action, Vascola Stoney. And we've got a nice video to share with you at this time. So while we're getting that queued up, folks, I just wanted to...
So much of it still exists in the world today, to me, is a bit unnerving. Because how can we hate what God created when it's all so amazing? The heavens and the earth, he created them first, and it's amazing. The birds, the bees, the flowers, the trees, it's all so amazing. The plants, the animals, the sky, and the seas, it's so amazing. So much beauty for us to see, plus water to drink and food to eat, and it's amazing. And we cherish it because we love it. We partake of it because we love it. We gaze upon it because we love it. We protect it because we love it, and we thank God for it because we love it. But as amazing as all that is, God's work was not done. His finest work was yet to come. You see, when God created all that, he did it with a command. But when he created us, he used his hands. He shaped us. He formed us. He created us in his image. Each of us, as diverse as the flowers, as numerous as creation, he created us in his image. God made me beautifully, and he gave me eyes so that I could see that he created so many others who don't even look like me, but them he also created beautifully. So even if your skin isn't the color of mine, and even if your hair isn't the texture of mine, and even if your lips aren't full like mine, and even if your eyes aren't shaped like mine, we all have a light, and I'm gonna let my light shine. Shine so you can see his beauty in me. Shine so you can see his majesty. Shine so you can see the peace in me. Shine so you can see his compassion in me. Shine so you can see that we are his masterpiece. They say that I'm a piece of work. They don't know the half. They really don't even have a clue. That's why I shake my head sometimes and laugh. You see, they don't know that I have an advantage. My creator, he's an expert. Now, they've already done their reviews about me, and they've only seen an excerpt because I'm a piece of work for sure. An original piece never seen before. Everything about me is unique to me. With your natural eye, you cannot see. The billions of cells that combine in me, the reverence he took in refining me. Fearfully and wonderfully I am made, and for that, my creator gets total praise. I'm a piece of work indeed, born with everything I need in order to succeed. I have an expected future my past will not impede. I'm a piece of work, all right. I glow in the dark to bring forth his light. Now, my imperfections make me perfect. Perfect, that is, for my creator's purpose. So don't be fooled by any scratches on my surface, because I'm a piece of work, but I'm rare. So I must insist you handle me with care. You can't just grab me and move me around, keep picking me up and putting me down, trying to shake me, trying to break me, trying to see how far you can take me, trying to sell me and then trying to buy me, trying to hold me back and deny me. And when I defy you, you say I'm a piece of work. You better believe it. Please take a moment and try to conceive it. I have the courage to dream and the power to achieve it. Now, I walk by faith, so I expect to receive it. That's my final answer. Y'all can take it or leave it. Or maybe one more chance to help you perceive it. I'm not a dime piece. I'm a prime piece. Divine, top of the line, keeps getting better with time piece. So I'm a really fine piece. Don't get that twisted. A finer piece has never existed, but that's what my creator intended for me. One of a kind, no other kind is like me. Now, the tears I cry for a reason. The pain I feel for a season, but that's not a season like a period of time. It's a season of flavor for my gain in time. See, the pain makes the gain taste a whole lot better. I am a piece of work. I'm a real go-getter. I know I can because he said I can. And this is where you look at me and say, the audacity of her to believe his promise. Yes, but I'll be honest. I didn't always feel this way, didn't always believe this way, but his mercies are new every single day, and so many things could have gone the other way. Say, I was a beaten piece. a battered piece, a used, bruised, and a shattered piece. Oh, but now I'm a put back together piece. I'm more valuable than ever piece. A saved, healed, signed, sealed, redeemed, and delivered piece. Not a piece for sale, but a sold out piece. So don't waste your time getting in line for this piece. You see, I'm a piece of work, but I can't be bought. In fact, y'all, I'm just here on lease. I'll soon return to my rightful owner because I am, you are, we are God's masterpiece. Amen.
Let's give an after the whistle warm welcome to my dear sister friend, Vascola Stoney.
Hello. Yeah, that's what I say.
Girl.
That's what I say. My God.
You girl. I know, right? Like every time I hear that one, I'm just like, oh, God be praised. So listen, sister, we've been trying to get together for a minute. And you know,
that was my line.
You know, full disclosure, people, you know, Coach Leah's After the Whistle has been a blessing for me because I will tell you what, some of my friends that, you know, come on as guests, featured guests on After the Whistle, are people that I love dearly that I haven't had a chance to see in a long time. And this is how I tricked them to see me.
Shame on you.
I know, right? I know. But
however we get to do it, it's fine because it's been a long time coming. So
yes. So yes, indeed. So now
I'm excited. I'm on Coach Leah's After the Whistle. What? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. No, I am so serious.
So what a lot of people don't know about you is that you were a big time elite athlete growing up and kind of turned in your gym shoes for a trumpet. Actually, you probably were doing both at the same time, and then the trumpet ended up prevailing.
Season.
So, you know, talk to the people a little bit about the importance of sports for you as a youth.
Listen, it was I had a lot of people around me who were athletically inclined and who did sports. You know, if I'm honest, it's kind of one of those ways that kept me from having to go straight home after school because I had chores and dishes to wash and things like that. But so, you know, it's like if I'm on a basketball team, then I got to stay for practice. And, you know, of course it never worked because with my dad, it's like, I don't care what time you get in here because the dishes still need to be washed. They're yours. And you just have to do them. But once I always loved it. Right. So it was, basketball and track and volleyball. Even for a time, volleyball didn't pan out to be the thing, but basketball and track, and then and of course I marched in a band. But it kept me out of trouble. But it wasn't, that wasn't the motivation. I just once you know, it's one of those things where a lot of it I didn't choose myself. It's like a coach said, you need to kind of try out for basketball, you know, or something like that. Now, I don't know if my father put a bug in their ear or what, but, and then in the band, it was kind of the same thing. In the band, though, it was a little different because I was following my father's footsteps. My father was a trumpet player. So I was following him. But being an athlete, playing in the band, playing basketball and running track. And then I was junior varsity because of my age, but because of my skill set, I was able to do varsity. And that was fun, you know, but the varsity girls, you know, they picked on you because, you know, you shouldn't be here. You're too young. But I'm thinking to myself, it's fine because I'm here. So y'all can do whatever y'all want to do to me because I'm good enough to play on the team with you, right? So even that was motivation, but it was just fun. There was sisterhood. It was family. You know, we got to travel with folks. And I knew that in order for me to participate continually, I had to keep my grades at a certain place. So
Yes.
it was that as well. And then, you know, small towns like mine, athletics was the thing. They loved to go to the football games and loved to go to basketball games. That
Hmm.
was the community thing. So for me to be a part of it and be for me to be somebody that, you know, was on the team when they came to see, I was excited.
Yeah.
So it just meant a lot. It was good for me.
So, talk a little bit about Fort Pierce, Florida. I'm not familiar. Where is that in Florida?
I couldn't tell you a whole lot about Fort Pierce, Florida, because I was born in Fort Pierce, Florida, and left there as a little girl to go back to South Carolina. That's why in my bio I always go. I was born in Fort Pierce, Florida. I was raised in South Carolina,
Hmm.
and I grew up in Houston. But so I can't tell you exactly where Fort Pierce, Florida is. That's just where I was born.
Got it.
My parents. Quick story: my mother and father were from South Carolina. My
Okay.
father at that time was one to find work. He find work wherever he could, and
Hmm.
that this period the work was in Fort Pierce, Florida. So that's where he and my mother went, and she happened to be pregnant with me while she was there, and so I was born there. There's amazing story about. We'll have to talk about that one. It's a very funny story because it's attached to my name. People always say, "Where'd you get that name from?" And I got it from the woman who was the husband in the household that took my parents in, wouldn't let them pay to stay because they were young, but decided, but you can name that baby after one of us.
That is
Yeah,
amazing. That is
yeah. Her name is
so cool.
Vascola. Yeah.
So, I talk so much about how important our oral history is,
Mhm.
for families. In that, no, that is a great story, and I hope that your son and daughter and everybody knows it and remembers it, and can keep passing that on because that's important.
Oh
And it
yeah.
is a very unique and beautiful name. I've always loved
I
it.
love it. I love it. Yeah. I
It,
had a police
it's
officer say to me, he says, "Oh, I've never heard that name before." I said, "And if you do hear, you arrest them and you change their name." So, no,
your
that's
mess.
that's it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's try to stay focused because I know
Okay.
we can go all over the place here.
Yes, we
And
can.
the producers have helped me to put together some questions to ask you. So we're going to try to get through this list as best we can. We got a little
Okay.
bit of time. We got a little bit of time. But
Okay.
so talk about the role of not just athletics, but being a part of a band. Because I tell people all the time, being an athlete in college, I would always see, even at my PWIs, I would always see PWI stands for predominantly white
Not in the white
institutions.
mistake. Yeah.
Because we know at an HBCU you're gonna hear the band, right?
Mhm.
But practicing. But when I was in undergrad, the we would be out doing our preseason workouts, and the band would be out there doing theirs.
Yeah.
So it's very much a athletic. You have to have athletic
Oh, trust
ability,
me. Yeah.
or so. Talk a little bit about that while you were in the band.
Now, that's really cool, and the fact that so when I was in the band in high school, the marching style was very different, right? It was considered course style, so it was for competition. So it was a whole lot of straight stepping, and it was more stepping and walking than it was actually marching. But again, I loved it because it was what my dad did, and I followed in his footsteps. However, it was part of that reason that I ended up at Texas Southern because I used to watch Grambling State University on the Coca-Cola commercial during those days, and I would always say, "Oh my gosh, I want to march like that. They march like that, right, and do music like that." And Texas Southern University was that place because my high school band director and the band director at TSU at that time, the Ocean of Soul, they grew up in the same town, were roommates in college, and went to Tennessee State together. Both played clarinet, and so he said, "I'm going to send you for camp to Houston because my boy's out there and he's got a band, and that's how, and it was a whole. Now you talk about having to be athletically inclined. So I brought those working legs, those basketball legs, those track legs, those marching band legs. I brought all of that to the Ocean of Soul, and it helped me because you have to be. And we were out there even beyond the football team. At all hours of the night, TSU Ocean of Soul was out there practicing. So yeah, we had to be.
Absolutely.
And those who weren't, you weren't when you started, but by the time you were done, you were feeling a little better, a little less winded going up the stairs because you had a good workout. Yeah,
Absolutely. That cardiovascular was working for you. I'm already knowing.
and when how many times we had to go back to get the show right and all that repetition, and we get to the end, and Prop Butler would just point to the end zone. He says, "Back to the hole." It's like we got to do it again. So
Yeah, just like in athletics, just like our conditioning and training for sports. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely the same thing. So, just like I always say with all of our guests, I believe I'm 1 degree of separation from everybody on the planet. I know that ours is an interesting one, since it's kind of twofold. First is that our sons both went to Bel Air and both play basketball. And that was kind of how we met. But then we also realized that the church that I joined was the church that you were a member of, with Wheeler Avenue. So I thought it was cool that, because your son's a little older than mine, that he kind of had somebody to look up to that was going to church. So that was kind of a cool thing too. But yeah, so how's Darren doing?
Darren is doing really good. Darren is about to be 32 this year.
Okay.
32
Wow.
years old. Yeah, and he enjoyed playing basketball at Bel Air. And we weren't sure what he would do afterwards. But it was one of those things where you got athletics, but we are so much more than just our physical beings, as amazing as they are. So he's a great graphic artist, and he does that. He's kind of into fashion designing a little bit, designing shoes and sneakers and all of that kind of thing. And still at a place where he is just trying to figure out, okay, God, what is exactly that place? But he's doing it. He's his mama's child,
Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We pray for him and young men that he knew that he went to Bel Air with. We pray for all of them to just get with God and for God to speak to them so they'll know exactly what that pathway is, because it's tough trying to figure that out and trying to figure it out on your own.
No doubt. So speaking of that, what do you feel like was your after the whistle pivot? So I feel like you have two, but talk to me about what you would consider, what you were doing, your band and the physicality of that, and now you're doing things that are really sort of different.
Yeah, well, they're kind of different. And so for me, and I was thinking about it earlier. I was thinking, after the whistle, I think it's a great title. But then I started to think about it, because what happens when the whistle blows? The whistle blows and it means go. So after the whistle, it's time to go. And so for me to know where to go after that, was not always it just kind of flowed into what God said. It was what God knew was going to happen in the first place, because, so it was basketball and athletics in high school. And then it was band in high school, and the band got me here because I got a scholarship to come here. Mm-hmm. So while in band, then I was at TSU in classes. And this is when Sam Andrews, one of my favorite instructors, God rest his soul, he said to me, what's your major? I don't have a major right now. Well, you need to be in radio and TV. Why? Because I said so. You got a voice and you got whatever it is. And so I was like, okay, so I'm into that. I loved the theater the whole time, high school and all. And so it was just kind of on the theater track, music major and theater minor, and doing that. So doing what I love. And then finally started hearing God say, yeah, but I got something else. And I'm thinking, no, wrong answer. You you got the wrong numbers. You got to be thinking about somebody else, because of course after college and between all of that, there was, life and living it up and all of that. And God says, yeah, I know all about that, but I still have something. And then I had to answer the call. But I feel like I'm doing everything I'm doing feels natural to me to do. It's what I've loved to do in the first place. And when I look back, I have friends say, "You've always done that. That's what you're always the one we call to do this or to do that." So it's like, oh, okay, so God was right after all. Imagine that.
Yeah. Imagine God being right. Well, and I say this all the time too, that, how we make God giggle, tell him our plans.
Tell my plans, yeah.
So we've got some amazing comments for people that are tuning in live today, and we just want to make note of them real quick. You've got Duncan the Spectre saying that he met you by accident, but God says it's no accident.
And then it says last weekend. Ooh,
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
last weekend.
Last weekend. Wow. Wow. And then, of course, our dear sister Angela Raven is on here checking us out right now. Thank you, sister. We
My
really
friend.
appreciate that. Yes, our sister friend. So that's super cool. But, talking about your call, and again, it's just been really fun being your sister friend and, just kind of knowing your heart, even in conversations that we've had. And I'm always so grateful for the times that you've prayed for me, that you've called and I didn't even have to say that anything was necessarily wrong or anything was necessarily heavy on my spirit, but you always knew, and you just always would just be that somebody that would be just there. And so that's so important to me, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that. Other people are now being able to see just on a wider scale, just a more vast scale, just the beauty of your heart and your spirit. Talk to me about your ministry goals. Like, what are some of the ministry goals that you have at this time?
I often ask God, like, God, what is it that you really want me to do? And it's like every now and then I can hear God say, what do you mean? It's like, I want you to keep doing what you're doing, right? And so ministry goes for me. And I think Pastor Cosby asked me when I was getting ordained, if there were no barriers or no restrictions or whatever, what is it that I would be doing? And I think it is so important for people to have hope, right? If we don't have hope, then we have no reason to get up, or no reason to move, or no reason to try, or no reason to think, or to push ahead, or even to listen to anything else around. And so I think a message of hope, and whatever way I can use to encourage people to see past what they see. That being the world around us, that being, this business of looking in the mirror and seeing past what we see, to let our eyes kind of fly. So I think about like this: what we sometimes we look, those of us of a certain age, when we look in the mirror and we see what looks like crow's feet, right? See, that's not what those are. Those are wings. Those are your eyes' wings. So you let your eyes fly so that you can be able to see more, so you can go higher and see a little more of what's going on. So I think every opportunity I get to transform, and people, sometimes label me just generally, and it's not a big deal, as a motivational speaker, but I like to consider myself, and I hope to be, desire to be, pray to be a transformational speaker, because I think you can get motivated in a moment, and then when that moment passes, then you see reality, and then you're less motivated because of you see. But I think when you can transform your mind, change the way you think, even about what you see, then you can move on no matter what it is that you see. So just with the word of God, with whatever inspiration, creativity he gives me, in whatever setting I'm in. I could be in the bathroom or in a grocery store, wherever I am. If there is a word, something that I can give to people to help them to transform the way they think about themselves, about God, about all that God is, about all that God says, that they think it's just too much for them to handle. If I can transform somebody's mind, lift them up, make them laugh, make them think, make them cry, make them believe, make them love, make them hate, make them do all of those things. Yeah, make them hate those things that need to be hated. Don't get me started. Now you got me. You got me.
Look, I already know. I already know, sis.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So listen. So, whoo. So, couple things. How long have you been a spoken word artist? Now, I'm putting air quotes up only because if people have ever seen you perform, you seamlessly go in from where you were just going into a piece. It's so seamless, and that's part of, in my opinion, that's part of your brand, that's part of your beauty, that's part of your artistry, that's part of just who Vascola is. But so yeah, so how long have you been this spoken word artist?
Listen, I can't tell. Before I answer that, let me just say, when you said Duncan the Spectre, and I said somebody I met a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure what she just paused. She said, "This is Deborah Duncan." The message came in a different email under a different name, so that's why I didn't know. But that's Deborah Duncan.
Got it.
Who is
Awesome.
who's on with us today? So thank you for joining us. Listen, how
Absolutely.
long have I think ever since high school, I've been in speaker mode, but I will tell you and I've been writing a lot, right? Writing
Oh
and not
yeah.
performing. And then
Oh yeah.
one day, several years ago, maybe 10, one of my friends said, sister was doing a, and she asked if she wanted to give me a role in the play. It was a very small role. I said, fine, no big deal. But I get to rehearsal, and we're going to rehearsals, and I'm watching the play happen, and I noticed that the exchanges, the transitions weren't really there. So I said, listen, how about this? I don't have to have a role in the play, but this is what I'll do. I said, let me write some pieces I will deliver in between scenes that will help with the transition of the scenes. And that was one of the first times that I was able to started to perform, like here in Houston. And
Mm-hmm.
from that, it's like going, and then it's from that in church. And if I'm, excuse me, perform at church, it goes from there to somebody wants me for their birthday party. Somebody wants me
Mm-hmm.
for their women's conference, for their baby shower. I had a young lady even ask me to do a piece at her mother's funeral. And I'm thinking, okay. And then listen, so I'm always asking God, when you gonna let me preach? You called and made me a preacher. When are you gonna let me preach? And everybody around me goes, what do you think you're doing every time you get up there? So if I have to put a time,
Bars.
okay.
Bars.
So I can't really say when I actually started, but it was about 10 years ago that I just started doing it here. Now, if I look at all the stuff that I've written, I'm sure it goes back a little further than that. But I mean, I love it. And I keep wanting to say, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to preach. And I'm going, nevertheless.
That part. So now, okay. So tell me about your favorite piece, and then tell me why that's your favorite piece,
Ooh.
or better yet, do you want to perform your favorite piece?
Ooh. So I will perform one of my favorite pieces, because the other pieces we go, excuse me, I thought I was your favorite piece. I'm the one that you but this piece, Dare to Believe, is one that witnesses to me, and it helps so many others, and I just know that just because excuse me, because of the response that I get from them, because it's this word believe, to be convinced of a thing, right? And I always think that when you believe a thing, that you move in the direction of that thing. So whatever it is believe, be it positive or negative, that's what you're going to strive for because you believe it, right? So if you believe something negative to happen, you unfortunately, without even knowing, are gonna take the steps that keep it from happening because you believe it not to be possible. But whatever it is that when you really, really, really believe, and when you dare in the face of everything that is against it, when you decide, I don't care, I believe it anyway. And that's especially true for me when it comes to the word of God. It's like, I don't care what the world says because I know what the word says, right? So I'm going to do, dare to believe. I dare you to stop believing the voices in your head unless they echo what the word of God says, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The price for your sin has already been paid because God so loved the world that he gave Jesus, who gave his life to save. So I dare you to believe so you can live, because that's why Jesus did what he did. Oh, strong winds will blow and you might bend. You might even find yourself in the lion's den with the heat turned up 7 times, and then your heart might break over and over again. But I dare you to believe is truly, truly your friend. Your broken heart in his hands can mend. It is he who blows and controls the wind. So I dare you to believe past your doubt that lack of faith brings about. And just about the time when you're ready to give up, I dare you to believe that God will show up and show out. I dare you to believe that he will open a window and pour 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 more blessings than you'll ever have room enough to store. I dare you to believe his promise. I dare you to believe it, because let's be honest, if you don't believe, you will never be able to perceive all that is possible for you to achieve when you dare to, not be scared to, refuse to live in despair to, say, never mind, life ain't been no crystal stair, to use the power of prayer to increase your courage to believe. I dare you to declare that there will be no more weeping and wailing, because you dare to believe that in God there is no failing. I dare you to believe that he is the Savior. He's a comforter, a keeper, a deliverer, a healer, and a redeemer. I dare you to believe that he will never leave you nor forsake you, that you will run through the fire and the flames will not take you. I dare you to believe that you were not a mistake. You were created on purpose, and there was a purpose for which he created you. I dare you to believe in you, that you are one of a kind and no other kind he created was created like you. So I dare you to believe and keep believing, because then you will dream and keep dreaming. And then you will ask and keep asking. You will seek and keep seeking. You will knock and keep knocking. You will find and keep finding. And then there will be no denying that your believing has led to your possibility of anything ever being able to stop you from believing. So go ahead, make my, I dare you.
Oh my gosh. So, of course, you know that we ask all of our guests to share their inspirational quote. Needless to say, yours is Dare to Believe. And for all of those reasons that you just have said in your piece, I want to thank you so much for honoring us with that piece. And we've got Brian backstage. We want to bring him back in if we can, really quick, because couple things. There was a request for you, Brian, to do your Bernie Mac impression from one of our people that have joined us in the comments today, and so we just have to please the people. So let's, what you got for us? What you got for us, Reverend Brian?
What I'm trying to tell you is, after we get off this show, I'm going to give me some milk and cookies. I ain't got no time for it. I'm going to whip everybody's child to come around. I believe after a child is a year old, you punch him in the stomach, hit him in the throat. That's all I got to say about it.
Oh, my God. Oh, goodness gracious. Y'all, this is the best job in the world. Absolutely the best job in the world. Now, what I wanted to also just share with you taking a pivot to a more serious note, as we are concluding getting to the end of our season 1, and we'll be taking a hiatus as we prepare for season 2, I've shared with both Reverend Brian and Reverend Vascola that I will be taking a medical leave. I'll be having a procedure done next week. And Reverend Brian Spann, as you can see, is very, very talented, will be serving as our guest host for Coach Leah's After the Whistle. So I hope that you will for sure tune in. As you can see, you will be very, very well informed. You'll be very well entertained, and all the positivity, all the inspiration that you've known for Coach Leah's After the Whistle to be will be in very, very good hands, especially with our producing team of Vash Bodie and our interns and our developmental producer and our people over at Sacred Stone. You're going to be in very, very good hands. And Vascola, I just want to already thank you in publicly as well for your continued prayers, for your sisterhood, for your friendship, for being here today, sharing your gift. And I look for us to be able to do a lot of really great things in the community because we've got that want, or that not even the want, but the desire and the call to do what we need to do for the young people in the community. And so again, publicly, I just wanted to thank the both of you for being here today. And Vascola, before we go, please let the people know how they can reach you.
Well, I'm kind of like like Brother Brian here. You can have my phone number if you need to contact me. That is 832-433-2622. That's 832-433-2622. I'm at vascolastoney@gmail.com. I do have Instagram, and I am on Facebook, both with my names. On Facebook, I'm at Stoney Vascola. If you find Vascola Stoney, I still have access to that page, but Stoney Vascola is a much more current page. But and you can reach out to me for events of all kinds. I am thrilled and honored to participate in those and to entertain or minister to rather your guest. But if you feel like you need prayer or some encouragement of some kind, you can use the number for that as well. And we will continue to pray for you, Leah, that the surgery goes well, or that if God decides, at any moment he can say, "Nah, I fixed it. No need." And then we will take that too, in Jesus.
That part. Well, we're in talks of perhaps even allowing for folks to share this journey because a lot of what's going on with us as Black women is not talked about enough, and so we're considering that. And so stay tuned, people. Listen. So that will conclude today's episode of Coach Leah's After the Whistle. I'm so grateful that you guys joined us today. Be sure again to like, share, subscribe. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Guys, we're a little over halfway there for our 1,000 subscribers to YouTube, and I know it's because of you, and we can't do it without you, so continue to spread the word. Deborah Duncan, we're so glad that you joined us today, and Dr. Raven Anderson, we're so glad you joined us today. Sylvia Crawley-Spann, we're so glad you joined us today. Y'all are so awesome, and with that, I say bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.